The phone is the first thing most people grab. Every time. It doesn't matter if the ceiling is cracking or the water is rising at the door. The hand moves before the brain decides. That reflex has a cost. In documented evacuations, house fires, flash floods, earthquakes, researchers found a consistent pattern. People reach for the familiar, the charged, the expensive, the sentimental. And in doing so, they leave behind the things that would have actually kept them alive. This isn't about being unprepared. Most of these people had thought about emergencies before. The problem is that crisis doesn't feel the way we imagined it would. It feels faster, louder, more disorienting, and the thinking narrows almost immediately. Psychologists call it cognitive tunneling. The brain locks onto one task and sheds everything else. You're not choosing badly because you're careless. You're choosing badly because your brain is managing fear. And fear, under real pressure, is not a sharpening force. It is a narrowing one. The first thing most people grab is their phone. The logic seems sound. It connects you to help. It has maps, it has your contacts, it has a flashlight. But in the first 12 minutes of most acute emergencies, the network fails or becomes useless. Cell towers serving a disaster zone can handle roughly 300 simultaneous calls before they saturate. When an entire neighborhood tries to call out at once, the lines collapse. What survivors actually prioritize isn't a connected device, it's a charged, offline, independently useful one. A headlamp with fresh batteries. A battery bank. A handheld radio. Items that don't need a signal. The second thing people instinctively grab is their wallet or purse. Again, the logic is understandable. Money, cards, ID, these feel like control in a destabilized moment. But in the first hours of a serious crisis, flood, wildfire, structural collapse, money does almost nothing. Stores are closed, ATMs are offline, the economy of normal life is suspended. Survivors in post-hurricane accounts consistently describe the same realization. Cash was useless for the first 48 hours. What mattered was water, a way to filter it, a way to carry it. The body begins losing functional capacity from dehydration faster than most people expect. Mild dehydration, around 2% body weight lost, starts degrading concentration and decision-making. At 5%, coordination drops noticeably. Judgment follows, the ability to problem-solve under stress shrinks. In a warm environment, moving through stress, that threshold can arrive in under 3 hours. The third instinct is clothing, but usually the wrong kind. People grab what's visible, what's nearest, a jacket on the hook, a pair of shoes already by the door. What they rarely think about is thermal protection appropriate to the actual environment they're about to enter. A light jacket in a wildfire evacuation that runs into night, into elevation, into unexpected cold. That's a liability. Survivors in prolonged evacuations describe the same thing. They underestimated how much the body temperature would drop once movement stopped. The body produces enormous heat while moving. That heat masks exposure risk. Stop moving, waiting at a checkpoint, sheltering under an overpass, sitting in a stalled evacuation line, and the cold arrives fast. Wet clothing accelerates this. Cotton especially. It holds moisture against the skin and conducts heat away from the body efficiently. What survivors actually prioritize is a layer that stays functional when wet, and footwear that can handle broken ground. The fourth grab is almost always food. People reach for what's in front of them. Bread, snacks, whatever is already on the counter. These choices feel logical. The body needs fuel, but food becomes critical only after roughly 72 hours without it. The body has glycogen reserves. It has fat stores. A healthy adult can sustain meaningful function for days without eating. Water is not like that. Water cannot be banked the same way. The margin is much shorter. Grabbing 3 days of snack bars while leaving behind a water filter or purification tablets is a trade most survivors wouldn't make twice. The fifth instinct is documentation. People grab hard drives, photo albums, irreplaceable papers. The emotional pull is real. These things feel like proof of the life built. But survivors who made it through extended displacement consistently say the same thing afterward. The documents that mattered were the ones that could be replaced, and the ones they'd already photographed and stored in the cloud. The physical album left on the shelf didn't end a life. The missing medication list sometimes did. What survivors actually take is a small waterproof folder, prescriptions, insurance numbers, one form of photo ID, not a box of memories, a single functional record of who you are and what your body needs. The sixth grab surprises people when they hear it. Pets. Not because pets don't matter. They do. Deeply. That's exactly why this decision costs people so much time. The average person spends 4 to 7 minutes attempting to locate, calm, and secure a frightened animal during an evacuation. 4 to 7 minutes in a fast-moving wildfire is not a small number. In the 2018 Camp Fire in California, the fire front moved at roughly 80 football fields per minute under wind. Some people made it, some didn't. The difference was often measured in single decisions and the minutes attached to them. Survivors with pets who made it out had almost always done one thing in advance. They had a plan. Carriers staged near exits, leashes accessible, a pre-decided meeting point if the animal couldn't be found quickly. The preparation removed the in-crisis search. The decision was already made before the smoke appeared. The seventh instinct, and the most quietly dangerous, is the urge to assess before moving. The brain wants information. It wants to understand the scale of what's happening before committing to action. This is not irrational. In low-stakes situations, gathering more data before deciding is genuinely smart. But in acute emergencies, the assessment window is often much shorter than it feels. Researchers studying building evacuation behavior found that most people delay an average of 3 to 8 minutes after a fire alarm before moving. They look for confirmation, they wait to see if others react. They check their phone for news. That delay, called the pre-movement phase, is where a significant portion of preventable harm originates. The building isn't more dangerous after 8 minutes because of what the fire did to the structure. It's more dangerous because the smoke moved, the exits filled, and the safe options narrowed. What survivors do differently isn't that they panic faster, it's that they decide faster. There's a meaningful difference between those two things. Panic is uncontrolled. Early decision is deliberate. The body under stress releases adrenaline within seconds. Heart rate rises, breathing shallows, peripheral vision narrows. This is useful for physical output, moving fast, lifting, running. It is not useful for complex evaluation. The more time spent evaluating under that chemical state, the less accurately the brain processes what it's seeing. Survivors describe a common experience. They stopped trying to fully understand the situation and started moving toward a pre-decided action. Not because they were brave, because they had removed the decision from the crisis moment entirely. That is the real pattern across survival accounts that researchers have documented across floods, fires, and structural failures. The people who made it out well were not usually the strongest, the fastest, or the most experienced outdoors. They were the ones whose most important decisions had already been made before the emergency began. A go bag staged near the exit. A meeting point agreed on with the family. A route that didn't depend on GPS. A water source that didn't depend on the tap. A light source that didn't depend on power. These aren't dramatic preparations. They don't require military training or expensive gear, or a particular kind of personality. They require one honest question asked before anything goes wrong. If I had 90 seconds to leave this building, what would I actually need? Not what feels important, not what costs the most, not what connects me to normal life. What keeps the body functional, oriented, and moving for the first 24 hours in conditions I cannot fully predict. Real emergencies vary in ways no script can fully capture. Local conditions, personal health, and specific hazards all change what matters most. If you want to be genuinely prepared, local emergency management resources and hands-on training will always give you more than any video can. What most people get wrong isn't knowledge, it's timing. The preparation that saves lives happens before the alarm. The grab that matters most is the one you already staged, already decided, already made easy to reach in the dark.